So what I'm going to argue today is that the reasons why we do anything right now is to ensure that the rich, the people who already have a lot more money than the average person, gets richer, or that their reputation stays positive. That's why anybody does anything. Um, so that the people around you that have more money than you can get richer. Um, yeah, that's basically why everything is the way it is. Why things get done right now. Um, and yeah, I mean, you can see a lot of signs for that. Of course, like legally corporations, I believe since the 1980s, around the Reagan years, uh, by law, by law, are supposed to maximize the gains of the shareholders. The people who have the stock in the company, who have invested in the company, whatever company it is, the shareholders, those that hold the shares, need to get more. The company's purpose is to increase the profit of the shareholders. That's it. Um, yeah, and so that's why we see a lot of decisions be made nowadays that do that. Um, at the expense of other people, of course, of poor people, definitely. Um, and I wanted to, I mean, a lot of this has been because we've been organized by people with resources. So we are organized by the people that want to make money to begin with. And they tell us, hey, come do this. This job needs to be done for me to make money. Great. It gets done. They make money. Whether it's growing crops, whether it's making things, of course, you name it. And so we are very much able to participate in this. You know, we as regular people, I'm not rich. Even the people that I know around you that have a lot more money than I think, there's still a lot more people that have more money than them. And yeah, you know, of course, like there's a class of owners, of people that own stuff. And the people that own stuff, that's the main people that I'm talking about. And yeah, I really truly see how we have been organized by people with money in our communities. That, you know, it's like there was one person that had a lot of money in our town at one point, you know, and there was a person in a bigger city that had more money. They all started to collude, and of course, the people with more money know each other, especially in a region, and so we've been organized by the rich. We've been organized by what they want in order to make money. And I believe that it is possible for us to organize ourselves, actually. I think it's extremely difficult. Very difficult to organize ourselves. If there's not like a central person to coordinate everybody. And so the central person often has been the rich person, right? Who like needs to get more money somehow. They want to get more money. They say, hey, I want to invest in your company because I think your company can make me money. And so great. And then, you know, of course, like the rich people choose which groups of people are already well organized enough for them to invest in, for them to function well. And I mean, so far it's given us the world that we have. It's, you know, it's produced a lot of awesome things that we just, it's easy to take for granted. But life that we have now is full of very beautiful, very convenient things, especially in a country like the United States, of course. In other places, it might not be as hospitable, or places might not be as comfortable. But or have access to as cool things as we have here in the United States, some people. But it is possible, I think, for humans to self-organize. And I think for me, the holy grail of organization for humanity would be to self-organize based on what we feel like our place is in society and what we feel like our lives we're put on this earth for. Instead of having the rich people organize us by, hey, the rich people are going to put a large pot of money here so that everybody comes over here and organizes around how to make more money out of this initial pot of money. And so I think there's an alternative, because everybody oftentimes when they say burn the system down, you know, they might think the government, they might think corporations, but nobody ever says what to build in its place. Well, okay, so we burn it all down, that's the easy part, I guess. What do we build after that? So I have some ideas, and I would love to know yours. So take some time to think about it and get in touch with me. But I really think that it is possible for us to use technology now to organize ourselves. Organize ourselves based on what we want to do in this life. Think about that. Can we organize ourselves using technology to do what we want to do in this life? Like every individual person, every human's different. Some people might want to do this, some people want to do that, some people are this kind of person, some people are that type of person. Okay, great. I think it is possible, not anytime soon. I think this would take a long time and a lot of iterations, but I think it is possible for people to self-organize with the use of artificial intelligence and of supercomputing or like quantum computing. I think it is possible because if you think about it, right now we already kind of do this. We already say, hey, I want to have this style. I want to do this. I want to dedicate my life to that. We already do that. And because the rich people have been around for so long and cultures have been around for so long, and not just rich people, but cultures have been developing for so long, there's a lot of things to choose from. You know, we don't have to be agriculture workers like most people had to be back a long time ago. So there's a lot of other things to do. Some people still want to be agricultural workers. And anyways, so what I think is totally possible is to self-organize, like I said, using artificial intelligence, using supercomputing. And the way that I think it would work is that, of course, you would have to assume first, that people are well educated on how things function, like factories that refine petroleum, not like super in detail, but at least know like the general gist of things, how things happen, and the needs of their community and their culture of their community. So if people are well versed in like what their community is about, what their community needs, and how things function in the world. Like, how do we get pieces of wood to build houses? How do we make things for plastics? How do we design machines that help us do XYZ? People don't have to know the fine detail of that, but they need to know just the general gist of how things function. And so if we assume, that's a big assumption, that people are well educated, which actually I think it's a big assumption, but also like not impossible to do. And I think now with the internet, there's a lot of people who are educated better. Actually, that's why I think we're so sad sometimes, is because we're intelligent enough to see like, this isn't working. Anyways, so I do believe that it is possible to self-organize using artificial intelligence and supercomputing. And the way that I think it would work is that people would just record the things that they want. They would record the things write them down or say them out loud or in a video, however it is. They just record their brains, the things that are happening in their brains, the things, the visions that they have, the things that they long for, the things that they really truly want out of their lives. They think about it, they talk it out, and you start doing this since you're like, 5, 6 years old, first grade. You start doing this and you start really learning about yourself, about like, oh, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, and using that to kind of guide you the way that you're going to be exploring the world. Of course, you're going to be starting to be educated on how the world works. So depending on what you're learning, you can talk about what you want. And you can, I think people will, eventually, I think AI will self-customize education a lot. So it will help us educate people and kind of guide people things that they want. Again, I think the thing that leads us is the mind. It's our own personal mind. It's not where rich people decide to allocate a bunch of money, but it's where every one of us decide to allocate our thoughts and our energy. And so I believe that at some point it will be possible for every human to record their thoughts, because I don't even think it will be that much. If you think about how much you've written or thought about like your career, yes, it might be a lot, but is it really more than like, even if you do it a lot, is it more than like a few books worth of writing? If you how many pages, if you wrote down all your thoughts about like you developing your career, I mean, maybe you've written thousands of pages. Like, okay, great. That's still not a lot. And when we're talking about supercomputing, a few thousand pages of text, okay, it's not a lot. It's not that much. And of course, there's billions of people. There are billions of people on Earth. And so, of course, you'd have to multiply that by a billion people. But I think that the gist of it would be to record your thoughts, have your thoughts go into, to be connected to a place where there's everybody else's thoughts too. So that from your thoughts, you can both connect to people that have similar thoughts that can get you in the direction of doing what you want to do. And I think it is also crucial that we budget our resources on Earth. So I do believe it will be possible, and it actually is already happening. Like I said, it's already happening a lot, and a lot of these things we already do. We think about Earth's resources. We need to imagine if we were able to account for all of Earth's resources on like a huge long spreadsheet. Just, it would be impractical, but like think about it. You have the amount of, and it could be by region too, of course, by location. Like you could say, great, in this state, Iowa, we have this amount of corn, or in this state of Florida, we have this amount of oranges, and there's a lot of resources to be had around. And there's already, again, like I said, there's catalogs of what resources are around. And so imagine if, great, we cataloged all the resources that we have on Earth. We catalog, how much is available right now versus the whole total thing. And then we tell the computer, great, now that everybody has recorded their thoughts, we tell the supercomputer, tell us how to allocate our resources. Give us some ideas about how to allocate our resources so that the things that, actually we just tell it, allocate our resources so that the will of the people will be done. And it will say, great, here you go. Everybody, these people wanted to be podiatrists, great. So here are the resources that podiatry needs, and here are the people in your community to connect with, and here are the resources that you have. And everything feeds to the next thing. So everything is really interconnected. And of course, there would be a lot of jobs that people might not want, right? Who wants to like clean out sewers if you have the option not to? And so I think that we're also, part of this education that people would have to go through would be educating ourselves on what is necessary, that some things that just need to happen for our life to function, And for those jobs that people don't really want to do, I think everybody should also think about how to automate them, about how to, there might be people who are like, well, I would be an engineer or designer, robot designer, or designer of automated systems. And they might say, hey, in my community, there's a really big sewage problem or a sewage issue where the infrastructure is not up to date or it's not being maintained, whatever the issue is. I don't want to do the job because it's a really hard job, but I would love to work on automating it. And in the process of automating it, if I have to get in there and do some stuff, I will. I think there's some people who would actually want to do that. I would love to automate systems so that eventually nobody needs to go down in sewers anymore to clean them or do whatever, or build them even. Now with 3D printing and robotics, we really don't have to do a lot. There are, a lot of things that we don't want. That's the key. We don't have to do a lot of the things that we don't want to do. Things that are necessary but are also really difficult can be done by robots, by automated systems. And so I think that people would be like, hey, right now there's something called the North American Industry Classification System. Big long thing, NAICS. But it's basically a list of all the industries, right? It has a bunch of classifications of industries. And so there already exists like this list of all the industries in the United States. It's part of the census. And so as people in the government are tracking, all the people, they're also tracking what are the people doing. So we already have a lot of this information. So basically when you're getting educated as a kid, in my future imagination, you are being educated on that list of things, right? You're being educated on all the industries, especially that are in your area, and then kind of growing from your area to other areas. But you're being educated on that. And that's why you're able to go select, do I want to work with this? Do I want to work with that? Do I want to work here? And there's going to be some places where you can say, I actually want to work on automating this. So we should be thinking about, where do we actually want to include ourselves in an industry, and then also, or which industries do we want to be part of, and then also which we want to automate as well. And of course, right now, people, if you give everybody, hey, what would you want to do? Maybe a lot of people are like, hey, there's a lot of money in finance, so I want to be a financer. And we would realize really quickly that financing actually does very little. It actually is a big instrument of how to allocate rich people's money. Again, the whole world is pretty much organized on how to get rich people more money. And finance is basically that. If you think about banking and financing, it's just giving you the money to do things that you want to do. Like if you want to buy a house or build a factory, great, you're going to need a shit ton of money to do that. And so the financing system exists to give money from rich people to projects or people that seem trustworthy enough to not only pay that money back to the rich people, but give them a little extra so that they can get more rich. That's the whole reason finance exists right now. And people will say, oh, it's about investment, it's about innovation, it's about how to develop society. And like, that's BS. It's literally just about how to make rich people more rich, because there would be things that would revolutionize humanity that are not going to ever be talked about because they won't make rich people more money. If you wanted to develop a program to make sure every person is fed, a food distribution system to make sure that everybody's fed, people are going to be like, why would I want to make that? Rich people would be like, I don't want to do that, because then that means that people are not going to want to like work for me, make me more money. Anyways, there's innovations that need to come out of our heads that are outside the world of finance. Anyways, so people might want to say, oh, I want to be part of finance. And this is where I think, or somebody might say like, oh, I want to be a sports player. I want to just be a race car driver. And this is where you would see, okay, great. How many people want to do that? what is the need of that? I think that something too that we need to remember is that recreation is huge. And I think that if people don't have to work, we actually should promote recreation, playing sports, doing art, learning about the world, traveling too. I don't think that we need to deny ourselves the ability to do that when we think about things being automated. I think we start thinking about how do we organize people to make those things possible. So yeah, I think that can totally happen. It is totally possible to manage our world's resources in a way where it supports, it's meant to be supporting and sustainable to fulfill the lives of every person. Like, now, will every grand vision that every person has be feasible? Like, no, we do. That's again why the education is so important. But it is possible. It's not without a lot of difficulties, and it might not happen for hundreds of years or thousands of years, but it is totally, totally possible. And maybe we should just start doing it. Maybe we should just start recording. What is your life purpose for? What do you see in the future? What kind of society do you see? Maybe we should start having AI help us do that.